So I love survival games. Ark, Daisy, Minecraft, Forest, whatever. And I have put hundreds and hundreds of hours into these games. But nowadays, so many things are in the genre of survival. They're considered to be survival games. What do I personally consider to be survival games? That's what we're going to find out today as I rank my top survival games. I'm not going to do classes like F and S and whatever. It's just whatever's at the start of the video is what I consider to be the worst survival game. Whatever is at the end will be the best survival game. I have 3 rules and 7 criteria. They all have to fit the rules and they have to fit the criteria to be, in my opinion, considered to be a survival game. Now, we're going to get into this right after, but I just want to set that again 3 rules and 7 criteria. So, let's get into it. So, my 3 rules are relatively simple. I have them set down because it lays down the criteria furthermore for what I consider to be a survival game. So many games have this survival genre nowadays, but again, these rules kind of limit that. To set up, the first rule is it must be a well known game. People must have heard of it, they must have played it. Rule number 2, I must have played the game. This is my opinion. So if I didn't play the game, I can't even rank it. And number 3, if it's a series, I'll count the series as a whole, unless in the 7 criteria there is a major difference. So again, the 3 rules: must be a well-known game, I must have played the game, and if it's a series, and besides being a major difference, then I count the series as a whole. Now let's lay down the criteria. So right away I can knock off games like Dead by Daylight, which is considered to be survival horror. Same with Resident Evil, survival horror. The reason why is because one of my first criteria is there's got to be a food or water system in a survival game. Whether it's just food, whether it's just water, or whether it's both. Like, why would you not have a food and water system? It's called survival, survival of the fittest. You need food and water to survive and live. So again, even though Resident Evil or Dead by Daylight is considered to be survival horror, it does not have even a food or water system. The next criteria, it must have a day, night, and a weather system. Whether it's scripted, so it just happens in a story, because there can be story games, or it just happens of its own accord randomly. That I'll count. Same with the food or water system. Again, if there's a scripted event in a story showing this character's actually eating and drinking, then yeah, that counts. Next, there's got to be a somewhat complex healing system. Certain games have maybe one healing item that you use throughout the entire game. No, there's got to be like injury. There's got to be, say, if you get a cut, you have to maybe disinfect something, or maybe you can use a bandage, or if you get burned, use something else. Certain games like Green Hell have different dressings, or if you've played Daisy, you might break something, use a splint. You might get a cut, and you have to use a bandage. You may have to disinfect the bandage, whatever. There's got to be crafting. You got to craft maybe tools, weapons. Maybe you can craft something to help out at your base or something. There's got to be a little basic crafting in there. There's got to be hostile enemies. Again, it's survival of the fittest. You're not just walking around and not going to get attacked. In most survival games, there's animals. Maybe it's like a sci-fi where there's zombies or there's something. There's got to be some sort of hostile enemies. You got to be able to build. Now, this also does count for scripted building as well, so you might go ahead and be told to build something in the story or whatever. That counts. There's got to be some form of building. And finally, my final criteria: hunting, fishing, gathering. Again, it's a survival game. You got to be able to go ahead and grind, gather your supplies, gather your food and water, or go ahead and gather your building supplies. You got to be able to hunt, hunt for your food. You got to be able to fish, whatever. All that stuff is my final criteria. And again, that eliminates many, many games, and we'll get into that right now. So really quickly, I just want to go over some honorable mentions because they didn't quite make the list for not either fitting 1 or 2 criteria, or because the rules didn't really apply to them. So first one, Atom RPG, pretty good game. I liked it. It's a Russian post-apocalyptic game, with mutant stuff, kind of like Fallout, but more of a 2D/3D top-down view. It's really interesting game. Problem is, when I say Atom RPG, I feel like a lot of people won't know what it is because it does have a very small cult following, but it's not a very well-known game, which is why I'm not including it. Second one is The Witcher. The Witcher 3 has a lot of stuff, such as, crafting, it has travel, has hunting, gathering, that sort of thing. The one thing it doesn't have, though, is building. I know in the DLC you get a villa. I don't know if you actually build the villa, but you do get a villa. But I'm not including the Witcher 3 Wild Hunt just because for that reason we're looking at the main game, and even if you do build the villa, it's part of a DLC, not the main game. Second game, a couple of games I mentioned was Resident Evil and Dead by Daylight. They're technically survival horror, but to be honest, there's no food, there's no water system, there's maybe very bland heal system, none of that. Very bland crafting, no building, so they get scrapped as well. I also mentioned Grounded, which is a PC only game. This one would have definitely made the ranking system here. But yeah, again, PC game, so I'm not playing it. The next few games are going to shotgun really fast. Fortnite saved the world. I know it's a funny one, but there was building, there was crafting, there's complex heals, but no food or water. There's day and night and storms or whatever, so that one got scrapped. The Last of Us Part 1 and 2 and the Telltale Games Walking Dead. Again, scripted events, but there is no building. Walking Dead, very small bits, but I didn't think to include that. So those are really the final games there. And that's all really the big honorable mentions I have. We're going to move on to the ranking. There's no particular order. I'm just kind of going for what I think is the worst of these survival games up to the best. So here we go. So I thought long and hard about what should be the first game. What I consider to be a good survival game, but still the worst of the best, I guess you'd call it. And it's after a lot of thinking, I thought, why not the considered 2D Minecraft, Terraria? It's got hunting, you can go ahead and gather mushrooms, you can go ahead and fish, hunt animals, which doesn't do anything, whatever. The food and the water gives you health back, so it counts. There's healing system with potions, mana regeneration potions, iron sleep potions, a bunch of different stuff. Of course, you can build using blocks and whatnot. You can craft, of course. You can explore. There's enemies, all kinds of enemies, including bosses, that you have to fight to, go on to the story. It can rain, it can snow, there are different biomes. It fits the criteria very well. Part of my problem is, though, is with a game like Terraria as well, it is a little bit much, I would say. If you look at a game like Terraria and then look at a game like Minecraft, Terraria has almost double, maybe 3 times the amount of items, which again is a really good thing. You'd think I would give that, higher points, but I just think for a game like this, it's a bit much, especially when with Terraria, there is that replayability like Minecraft. But part of the problem is, for me, maybe I'm more nostalgic for Minecraft. Again, this is my own rating, but I just think that Minecraft is a little bit more well known, a little bit more nostalgic, a little bit more better replayability. And again, I'm not saying Terraria is a bad game. It's a fantastic game. I'm just saying that's really like Terraria is a little bit less so than Minecraft, which leads us to the next one, Minecraft. Now, this is an interesting one to see pretty low, Minecraft. Of course, well-known game, most popular game in the world. I played the game, absolutely love it. There's no series, of course. Day, night weather systems. It can snow, it can rain. There's biomes. It turns day and night every 10 minutes, I believe, to night, and then next 10 minutes to day. Food and water heal you. There are different potions, and with beacons you can use resistance and whatnot, enemies, building, all that. But in the end of the game, Minecraft is more of an open world sandbox. Once you honestly complete Minecraft, you could say, you have farms and whatnot to get food. It becomes too easy, I would say. So the survival aspect loses it. Then we move on now to Red Dead Redemption 2. You might be looking at me like, well, Red Dead, you can hunt. There are, of course, hostile enemies. It's the Wild West. You can craft a little bit, which is why it's so low. Again, unlike Minecraft and Terraria, where you can craft so much, the crafting in this game is a little bit more realistic. I say you have to go out and gather. It's not as easy to gather all those supplies. You have to maybe buy the bullets, or you have to go hunt some ducks to get duck fat to make incendiary and explosive stuff. There is day-night weather system, which is amazing, by the way. The day-night system is really good, and the weather, the rain, the thunder, the snow in the mountains, so good. Eating chain, it will heal you, but also give your food core up. It'll increase your Deadeye. It'll increase your stamina core, which all do different things, and you can be healed. As you level up, your health bar increases and whatnot for John and Arthur if you're playing online. Similar thing. The healing system, again, a little bit complex. You have the different foods and whatnot that increase your core, or you can get your little yellow bar to go around your original bar with tonics, chewing tobacco, bitters, healing cures, all that sort of stuff. Different foods as well, meats. But the big thing is building. Unlike Minecraft and Terraria, where you can build so much in so many different places everywhere, You might be like, well, where can you build? In the story, you can build a little camp, and you pitch a tent, you pitch a campfire, and it allows you to sit down there and craft as well. It's a little bit smaller. But coming into the online mode, at least, again, the online mode is part of the base game. It's not really DLC. I know it came out a little bit later, but it's still pretty much the base game. You can go ahead and buy a tent, which you then build in your camp. You buy stuff and it gets built into your camp, which is a very sleazy thing, I guess, I'd add. It's like, well, shouldn't this be the worst one? In terms of the survival game, unlike Terraria and Minecraft, once you get high enough, everything is pretty easy to come across, whatever. It's, again, open sandbox. At least in this game, it's so easy to have limited storage to not realize that, your storage is full or whatnot for certain food items, whatever. And you have to be, if you are playing constantly, especially online mode, you have to be either going to buy out, tonics and whatnot. You have to be going to buy ingredients to make tonics or to craft ammo. You have to be hunting constantly, unlike Minecraft. And again, where you can have a farm and farm iron, say as an example, very easily from an iron golem farm. In this game, if you want a specific type of arrow, like the small arrows, you need light flight feathers or whatever they are, and you have to hunt smaller birds, which are hard to come across, hard to hit. Of course, you can use Deadeye, but yeah, you have to actually grind. So, coming in at third, Red Dead Redemption 2. Next spot, we have both Fallout 4, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 3, and Fallout 76. I've never played the first Fallout games, which are pretty well known for older PC games, so that's why, they're not on this list. But Fallout 4, Fallout 76 mainly, I don't have footage for Fallout 4, I lost it, and Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3 I've played on my 360, so I don't have footage for that either, so we're using 76 footage, which is pretty close to Fallout 4. But of course, you can craft, you can build, you have all these enemies. It's a post-apocalyptic game in a nuclear wasteland, which is really cool. It's really unique enemies. Of course, Fallout being by Bethesda, very well-known game. Elder Scrolls games like Skyrim and Oblivion would be here, except I've never played them. I know, it sucks. I really want to play them. I've just never had the chance or opportunity to, so they would be here. But again, these games are really good. It's a lot more simple down stuff like presets and whatnot for building and crafting, cooking, and all that. So it's a lot harder to mess up. The recipes are super easy to get if you just look up a walkthrough. Whereas in other survival games, i.e. maybe Green Hell or Stranded Deep, it involves a lot more grinding. Because say for crafting, you just go into a house and you get enough metal for your rest of your playthrough for all your ammo. So yeah, move on to the next thing. We have Rust. And Rust would be so much higher if we didn't take in, honestly, a rule maybe I should have added, because most of the games, the reason why I didn't add this rule, most of the games are survival and single player. I mean, Fallout 76 has this, other games do this, like Minecraft, but they're not as bad as Rust. Rust, the reason why it is in the middle, I would say, is it's a great survival game. It would be so much higher. Food, water, building, PvP, hostile enemies, animals, hunting, gathering, so your supplies. It's amazing. The problem is the community. The reason why I stopped playing Rust on console, example, is the community is so toxic. I know this is also PC Rust too, but you can be a naked, which is the definition of a freshie, like in DayZ. You can be someone who has nothing, whatever, and you'll just be killed for no reason. The community is so toxic, and that's why it's so hard to start, because you'll be gathering, building enough supplies, which takes quite a lot of time, right? Which is good. It's a good grinding aspect, but then you'll just get shot for no reason. Or, you have a group of people try to trade with you, and then they'll just shoot you. Again, the community is so bad. Like, here, the footage I was gathering, I was like, you know what, let's give Rust a chance again. So, I decided to gather supplies, and all of a sudden, I get shot in the back of my head for literally no reason. That's why it's in the middle of the group. It has all that good stuff, even more. It's just toxic. Now, 7 Days to Die. Great, great, great game. Even better on PC. I've played the PC version. I've played like 200 hours worth, which is about the same time I played on the console version. But the problem with console is it's stuck in the past due to Telltale Games shutting down long time ago. Very sad. So you kind of stuck on, I think PC's on Alpha 21, moving to Alpha 22. They're still updating the game. But the problem is this version, we're stuck on Alpha 15 and parts of Alpha 16, which is electricity. So yeah, you have like no quests. Because again, we're strictly looking at the console version. There's no quests. It's a sandbox game like Minecraft and whatnot. There's no bosses. I guess every 7 days, you have a horde that you have to fight off. But That's about it. It gets really tough. Of course, you can gather, you can hunt. You know, there's deer, there's bears, there's rabbits, there's chickens. And then the PC version, there's a lot more stuff. There's different skill trees and whatnot. You know, it's a very good game. Sandbox. The enemies are the zombies or bears. But again, the problem I have on console, it's not as well diverse as the PC version, but it is still a masterpiece on console. And of course, it'll be updated in like the next year or so, which is nice. But yeah, 7 Days to Die. Next game here, higher middle, Ark, Survival Evolved. What a good game! It holds the same problems though as a lot of the games that I have previously been on this list, like Minecraft, 7 Days to Die, Terraria, etc. And that once you have enough stuff, i.e. dinosaurs like T-Rexes, Gigas, flyers like the Archie, or Griffins, you know, once your base is next to like a metal mine and you have a dinosaur for that, like an Ankley to get metal, you know, this game becomes super easy as a survival game. Because again, the survival game aspect is about surviving. It's tough, it's hard, it's brutal. But for the grinding aspect, you know, the early game is really grind heavy. But once you get there, I mean, you just send out a T-Rex to take down a Bronto, and you have like 400 stacks of meat, pieces of meat that you can just cook up and put in a fridge, and there you go. You don't have to cook for the next 20 years. Or you have your own farm, and then bam, you have unlimited medical supplies that you can just craft. It's very easy. It's not as grind heavy as a lot of other games, but because I mean, you have dinosaurs to do so much stuff for you. You tell it to mine, you tell it to take down this dinosaur, it takes it down. The interesting part is there are bosses, and the grinding aspect, if you're not using any multipliers either, most people play on servers, so there's a lot of multipliers, but if you're not playing, you're just playing base, survival, single player, or with friends, then yeah, it can be very grind heavy, because most like buildings and whatever take multiple pieces of wood, stone, metal, etc. But again, once you get the right dinosaur, the grinding goes away, that hard, brutal survival part goes away. It becomes a simple sandbox game like Minecraft. But I would say the reason why it's so high up, higher than other games, is unlike Fallout or Minecraft, the very early game for at least several hours, like until you can get a T-Rex, which takes so much time, maybe around like, to get a Rex out, you have to be like level 60, 70. So yeah, until that point, which again, if you have no multipliers, takes a long time to get up to, it is very grind heavy to get a lot of ammo and to upgrade your dinosaurs and whatnot. So it is, on that point alone, that's why it's so high up, is the grinding in the early game, super hard, very good for a survival game. But once you get all this stuff, it becomes easy and not really survival anymore, more of a sandbox. On to the next game. Top 5, we have Don't Starve, or if you play multiplayer, Don't Starve Together. I have not played a lot of this game. I've put like 20 hours in, so I could be completely off with this one if you have played a long time and are able to grind. I really only have like the first 3 characters again. Haven't played a lot, but from my experience of playing the game, again, this is my list. You know, you can have your own opinions if you played the game and have played it for a long time. The game is very difficult. If you go near a spider den, you get attacked and you most likely have nothing, then you lose it all. If you're not able to trade with the pig king or are able to find gold where these giant birds are that'll attack you, then you can't get the science machine, which means you can't upgrade and get stuff like spears and basic armor. Starting weapons that, you know, in most games you have on like the first minute, it might take several in-game days just to get, if you, depending on your luck where you spawn, I guess. You know, there's buildings with walls and whatnot. You get attacked every now and then at night. There's a sanity bar, which is interesting. Another game coming up has a sanity bar. The sanity system in this game is very interesting, you know. Your sanity goes down, you start to lose it a little bit, hence the term sanity, and you might be attacked or whatever. Don't Starve, very fun game. Again, I don't really know if it's as grind heavy, but when I've played it, it's got that survival aspect, it's got that food aspect. It's a lot tougher than other games on this list, which is why it is number 5. Okay, somehow before I even finish and made it to what I consider the big 4 and then the final game, I actually forgot to record some Subnautica footage. I completely forgot I had this game, so let's do Subnautica really quick, which I mean would go in the what I consider the big 4 anyways, because no matter what with Subnautica, unlike the other open world sandbox survival games, or it's kind of like similar to the ones coming up, Green Hell, The Forest, etc., where it is still throughout the entire game very grind heavy. It's hard to get food, you can't really farm food, you can't really farm resources, you have to go out and constantly get that stuff. But you know, you can build your habitats and you build awesome ships and whatnot. There are enemies like the Reaper, Leviathans, and sharks, sand sharks, and all that cool stuff. You know, and you can get a couple weapons are really just your knife, but there is stuff like the gravitational gun where you can freeze stuff to then stab it. So I mean, that counts again, I guess, as tools and weapons and crafting and all that. You use the fabricator to craft, which is a really cool idea. How you know, instead of a workbench or a crafting table, you have a cool little sci-fi space fabricator in your little machine place, which is really cool. But yeah, I just forgot to record Subnautica, so here it is. It's gonna be again. I wouldn't place it above or higher than the other 4 coming up. Yeah, it would be considered part of that big 4, I guess. Now the big 5. Now, if I had access to Rafting Grounded, they would be here with the final, what I want to consider the big 4. The main survival games of survival games. Now, these ones can be moved around any way you want. There is no 4th place, 3rd place, 2nd place, or 1st place, because they're all on the exact same level of what a survival game should be. It's brutal, it's tough. Once you get to the top with the best loot, it can break, and it's hard to get back up there. You know, no matter what, you're always hunting, you're always gathering. But we'll start off with Lawn Dark, a winter game in Canada, northern Canada, where like some sort of winter ice storm has completely knocked everything out. There are wolves and bears you gotta fight. You can get guns and whatnot, but the ammo is so limited, and it's so hard to shoot. There's different skills and whatnot. It is a great game. You're always battling the elements, mainly the cold, if there's a blizzard or a good wind going on. You need to find the right clothes and whatnot. Food and water is always scarce, where it comes to the point, once you loot everything and there's no more food and water after like 100 days, you resolve to just hunting for your food, and that's it. Again, such a good game. Now, with Lawn Dark, with that, we'll move on to Green Hell. Again, no particular order. This one can be first, this one can be fourth, whatever you want it to be. The building, this game is really good. There's stick stuff, leaf stuff. Eventually, you know, as you get there, you get to be like mud building, which is nice. So you can have like a little mud hut, which is cool. There's forging, which can get you metal, the best stuff for armor and whatnot, which again breaks down. The enemies are from like jaguars and tigers to crocodiles or alligators, one of the two. The best weapon being a machete, a rusty machete that can break really easy because it is rusty, but does the most damage. There's a bunch of exploring, a bunch of different stuff you can do. The one of the main enemies there as well is like tribesmen or tribespeople, which are really cool. They have bows, they have spears, they have throwing knives, they have throwing rocks, they have knives. They have their own little blades, which are really cool. Some have armor, some don't. There are a bunch of different healables, like dressings, ash dressing, leaf bandages, honey dressings, all that stuff that does different things. This game has it all. Food and water system, very hard to gather. Again, you're never going to have a lot of food on you, so you always have to be gathering. Great survival game. On to Stranded Deep. Again, this can be first, second, third, or fourth. It doesn't matter. You crash in a plane into the middle of the ocean where you have to go from island to island to gather supplies. You know, maybe you have one main island. Once you cleared out of trees and coconuts, there's nothing left for you. You know, maybe you'll plant some stuff, but really, I think it's 10 in-game days when the trees grow back. Not the trees, sorry, the plants grow back for fiber and whatnot to make lashings and rope. But I mean, you know, 10 days is a long time, so you have to go to other islands, and if you clear out another island of all its wood and stuff, you're not getting that back. So, very grind heavy no matter what. There's always sharks attacking you that always come back, so the enemies are there. There's giant crabs and snakes and boars, and they're limited as well. So once you run into that, it's really just fishing that you can get food. So again, same with coconuts, food's very limited, water's very limited once you run out of like grass and stuff to get the water collectors back. So great survival game. And the final, the big 4, you know, again, this can be fourth, this can be first, this can be third or second. We have The Forest. Now, The Forest 2 just came out on PC, which I've also played. I've played about 24, 25 hours, so a good day's worth of hours. Really good game. Haven't even beaten it yet, but I like to think I've played enough hours of The Forest, you know, about 200 of the first game. Great game. You know, there's different armors, there's mutants, there's different versions of cannibals. Some are tough, some have armor, some can throw fire at you. It's great. There's so many trees, so you're never going to run out of building supplies, like in Stranded Deep. It's the only gripe I have about that game, but that's fine. The Forest, you know, you have logs to build. You can build, like, spiked walls, you can build log cabins, you can build your own custom stuff. There's a bunch of different traps you can use. You can reinforce the walls with rocks and sticks to make it look like spikes are sticking out. Different weapons, such as the chainsaw. There's a 1-bullet flintlock pistol, which is cool. There's axes, and there's bows, and there's modern bows, crossbows, molotovs, and hairspray that you can light people on fire. Cool. You can plant a little bit, you know. Of course, there's hunting with things like deer, boar, squirrels that you can fish. You know, there are sharks in the game that'll swim at you from the ocean because you are on an island. What else? There's an end game boss. There's a story to the game, which is cool. The rain, the day, night for all the other previous mentioned games, and this one is hard. It can rain. There's a temperature system if you're too hot or too cold. There is snow in the mountains. It is a great aspect of the game. I mean, of course, this one's biased, but what else was it going to be? In my opinion, the best survival game is DayZ. At times, you know, the enemies are either other players or zombies, but I mean, unlike Rust and unlike other games, if you're playing on a community server or an official server, everybody is so friendly as long as you just talk to them first, you know, before shooting. Of course, crafting, you know, you can craft yourself ghillie suits, you can craft yourself tents, storage. There's so many different kinds of food, from hunting to fishing to finding cans of food that you need to open up with a can opener, you know. Healing is if you get shot in the leg, your leg might break, you know. There you need to disinfect your bandages before you heal, otherwise you can get infected. If you eat food with blood in your hands, you'll get infected. So there's many different ways to get rid of like certain sicknesses and illnesses, from painkillers to charcoal tablets to iodine. You know, there's also what's it called? Saline. There it is. If you have don't lost. Oh, I'm not speaking in English. If you've lost a lot of blood and you need more blood, you can be salined, which means, you know, you get some of that blood back, all the nutrients to quickly make your blood back up. Including, yeah, there's not just a health bar, there's a blood bar, which is right next to the temperature bar, where with your temperature, it's a cold and heat system. If you're too hot, you'll die. If you're too cold, you'll die. You need the right amount of insulation and clothing. Building, you can build fences from either wood or metal, gates, watchtowers, flagpoles. Again, there are the tent little building kits. There's cars to move around. DayZ has it all. It is by far the best survival game I have ever played. Without a doubt, hands down, amazing game. But we've reached the final game, which is the forest. I hope you guys did enjoy this ranking system. I surely did enjoy making this video, but again, it is a great video. All these games are great survival games, but again, in terms of from the worst to the best of the best, this is my rank. So if you guys did enjoy nonetheless, maybe leave a like, maybe leave a nice comment down below, maybe hit that subscribe button, dang the little bell. See you guys next time for some more ranking videos. Bye, guys.